What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'll be talking about 10 drivers who could replace Aric Almirola in 2023 in the 10 car. The 10 car currently moment is one of the most coveted free agency rides. Aric Almirola is going to be retiring after the 2022 season. Here are 10 drivers who could be considered as potential options for the 10 car in 2023. The first driver we're going to talk about is currently in the SHR Reserve Program, Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, currently a reserve driver for Stewart-Haas Racing, has a major alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing. He also has sponsorship from KHI Management Organizations, which of course is Kevin Harvick's management group. He has sponsors like Morton Buildings, Hunt Brothers Pizza, and other sponsorships. Thing that could hurt his chance of getting in the ride, though, is potential sponsorship issues. But I think with help from KHI Management, it really can help him out. He's been driving this year for Ricker Racing, which has a Stewart-Haas Racing Alliance. He's been driving for BJ McLeod, he's been a Ford organization, which is a 5 team, which has isn't really an SHR built car. And then he's been driving this year for DJR Racing. He has picked up the victory earlier this year at Nashville and has been extremely competitive. I think Ryan Preece is definitely the most likely candidate of these drivers on this list because Ryan Preece has been really solid. And I think he's been deserving an opportunity to get in. Now, some people don't think Ryan Preece could get in the 10, however, because he could make a guy who could replace Kevin Harvick in the 4, which could be an interesting choice. Maybe they wait another year on Ryan Preece, but I think Ryan Preece is definitely 100% the obvious choice to potentially go up because, like I mentioned, he has experience in the Cup Series. I think he has more experience than anybody else except a couple guys on this list, and I think Ryan Preece is definitely a really good option. I think he would be definitely the perfect option to go with. He's got the experience. He's a really solid driver, and I think he would definitely be a great driver to go for here. The second driver I think that could honestly be considered is a current driver in the Toyota stable at this moment, John Hunter Nemechek. Now, why do I mention John Hunter Nemechek? Well, John Hunter Nemechek, there's a couple reasons why. John Hunter Nemechek really doesn't have anywhere to go right now. Maybe up to the Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs Racing, but Joe Gibbs Racing, I don't think, is going to change their team going into next year. Brandon Jones potentially could be back in the ride next year. We'll talk about him in a little bit, though. Ty Gibbs, we know he's coming back to the Xfinity Series next year, and maybe they're going to have a 3 or 4 car team. Who really knows? He could go to Sam Hunt Racing. That's a big possibility, but he's also a driver is currently being considered as a potential option to get into the 10 car. Corey LaJoie talked about on his podcast about a month or 2 ago, and he talked about that John Nemechek was actually being a driver that was being considered for the 10 car. And it actually would not be out of the world for him to potentially get into the ride. John Hunter has been a very solid driver in the Truck Series the last couple years. In fact, he has been a championship contender in the last 2 seasons. On top of it as well, he drove for Front Row Motorsports, a Ford organization in the Cup Series as well. And like I mentioned, he has a lot of Cup Series experience, which I think would really, really play a factor. And I think he's a driver that has so much potential to be a Cup Series champion one day. He's young enough to do it. He's only 20. I think he's only 25 years old right now. So he's young enough right now where I think he really could be an extremely successful driver in this series. And I think he would be an absolutely amazing and a great option to go with if you were to get him up there in the 10 car to replace. And he's a younger driver as well. I know they're going to want to look for someone who's veteran presence. Now, also one thing he's got a little bit better compared to Ryan Preece is he does have a little bit of sponsorship money behind him. Fire Alarm Solutions basically helping him out. Among a couple other sponsors have been able to help him out as well. So I think he would definitely be a good option for the ride, and I think he'd be a very successful Cup Series driver. I think he would be a really good driver, and I think he should definitely be considered as a potential candidate for the 10 car. The third driver that honestly should be considered, and this one's probably a little bit out of the realm of possibility, but what about Kyle Busch? Now, why did I mention Kyle Busch? Well, Kyle Busch, he's been with Joe Gibbs Racing now since 2008. He's been part of the Toyota stable since 2008. However, Kyle Busch currently at the moment right now does not have a contract with Joe Gibbs Racing after this season, and one of the big reasons is because his major sponsor, M&M's, has been sponsoring him since 2008. They are going to be leaving at the conclusion of this season, and we are still do not at this point know what Kyle Busch's sponsor is going to be, and we're in the middle of July. Now, there is a really good chance and possibility Kyle Busch does return to Joe Gibbs Racing. I think it's very likely he's going to return to Joe Gibbs Racing. But what happens if he doesn't basically have it? This ride would be a great opportunity for Kyle Busch, and I know this Stewart-Haas Racing, like I mentioned a little bit ago, they're looking for someone that has a little bit of veteran presence. Why not bring a guy like Kyle Busch in? He has that veteran experience. He is a Cup Series champion, and I think Stewart-Haas Racing really needs someone to bring in that's going to be great because Stewart-Haas Racing's future long-term is a little bit in jeopardy outside of Chase Briscoe because Kevin Harvick, he's nearing the end of his career. Kyle Busch definitely has 10-plus years probably left in his career. He's probably going to go up until his mid to late 40s. Kyle Busch should definitely be a great option to have if that's, of course, if Kyle Busch does not return to Joe Gibbs Racing. However, I do feel like he's more than likely going to return to Joe Gibbs Racing in 2023. I just think they're going to find a sponsor. I just don't see Kyle Busch not being in Joe Gibbs Racing camp. But if he does return to Joe Gibbs Racing and does go to Stewart-Haas Racing, he probably brings his team over to Ford and really hurts Toyota's development program as well. They've been losing a lot of major development programs. If Kyle Busch does go to Stewart-Haas Racing, they're probably going to lose that major development program that they've been really, really wanting. So we know Toyota's really trying to keep Kyle Busch and want to keep him in there. He's probably going to stay at Joe Gibbs Racing, but he would definitely be a good consideration for the 10 car 2023 if he doesn't return. The fourth driver that I think should be considered is currently driving the NASCAR Xfinity Series for Junior Motorsports in the 9 car Noah Grayson. Now, Noah Grayson was actually a little bit higher up on this list until recent actions happened. Noah Grayson has been involved in a little bit of controversy as of recently. Noah Grayson, like I mentioned, has been in the Xfinity Series now for 4 or 5 years. But this past weekend at Road America, he got into a very scary situation where he basically caused a massive accident, intentionally wrecking stage camera after getting raced really, really hard. Got really, really angry and really upset and ended up wrecking Cameron, causing a 13-car wreck. And Brandon Brown actually got hurt really, really bad in the accident. Action like that is what's going to hurt Noah Grayson's opportunity to get into the 10 car, even into the NASCAR Cup Series, because Noah Grayson does have ambitions to actually race in the NASCAR Cup Series. And I think Noah Grayson does have the talent to back it up. But if he continues to have actions like that, he's not going to have that opportunity to race in the Cup Series because teams are going to want him, including the 10 team. But I think Noah Grayson has so much potential to succeed. He's young enough to get it done. He's been in the Xfinity Series long enough. And really right now, looking at Chevy's programs, where can he go? Yes, we know Junior Motorsports are wanting to jump up to the Cup Series, but we know they're not going to be jumping up full-time. And we know that basically the only other ride potentially opens 16 for College Racing if College decides to have only 2 full-time cars. But there's also a possibility that they probably could basically become a 2 full-time cars and a 1 rotation car and 1 full-time entry. I think Grayson would be a great option to go if he can. He's got to work on that temper course and stop racing like a maniac out there, because this series has generally been a lot better about that compared to previous years. But if he continues to race like that, he's not going to have that opportunity. But I think he should be considered as a potential option because Noah Grayson is a very talented driver, and I think he's got potential to get things done. The fifth driver I think that should be considered is currently in Stewart-Haas Racing's NASCAR Xfinity Series program, driving 98 Monster Energy Ford, Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst, like I mentioned, currently drives the number 98 and has been with Stewart-Haas Racing for the last 2 seasons. And I will give Riley Herbst a lot of props. I don't think Riley Herbst is the greatest driver in the world. I don't think he is. But I will give Riley Herbst a lot of props that he has absolutely improved in the last year. In fact, I think maybe outside of Ross Chastain, I think he has been the most improved driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's been contending more for wins in top 5s. He has shown a lot more consistency and speed. And right now is in the playoffs by a convincing portion. Compared to last year, I don't see Riley Herbst really being in danger of missing the playoffs. And I can see Riley Herbst actually winning a race and maybe winning this week in Atlanta coming up. I think Herbst would also, one thing that Herbst does have compared to the other 4 guys, he has the funding and sponsorship to back him up. He's got help from Monster Energy. He's got help from Terrible Hearst. He's got a couple of companies that would be willing to help him out, make that jump up to the Cup Series. I think he's definitely one of the higher likelies to get into the 10 car, but I would consider him due to the fact that he, like I said, he has all that sponsorship and funding that really can help him out as well. Now, do I think if he gets into 10 car, do I think he's going to struggle? There's a good chance he absolutely does struggle in the Cup Series because he's really struggled in the Xfinity Series up until this season. But I do believe that Riley Herbst has potential to improve. He's young enough to get it done. He's only 20. Keep in mind, he's only 23 or 22 or 23 years old. So he's young enough where he can absolutely improve. Do I want him to be the guy that gets into 10? No. I think the 4 guys above him definitely deserve to ride more. But I think because he has those major ties and associations with Stewart-Haas Racing, there is a good potential opportunity and chance that he does get into the 10 car in 2023. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. Like, he could be a big consideration to get into the number 10 car in 2023. We'll keep an eye on it, though. The 6th driver I think that should be considered to replace Aric Almirola in 2023 is currently driving for College Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, that being Daniel Hemric. Now, Daniel Hemric, like I mentioned, is driving for 16 for College Racing at the moment right now, and Daniel Hemric's been having a little bit of a down year at College Racing. Compared to last year where Daniel Hemric won the championship with Joe Gibbs Racing in the 18 team, this year he's in the playoffs by a very convincing margin, but he has not won a race so far this season, though he's had some good runs, but has also had some not so good runs this year as well. I think Hemric does, though, have a little bit of Cup experience, well, probably will help him along the way if he gets into this ride. And I think Hemric right now is better than the equipment. I don't think College Racing's Xfinity Series program right now is really as good as their Cup program is at the moment right now. I think their Xfinity Series program isn't good, so I think they're putting so many eggs in the basket of their Cup program that I think it's hurting out. Hemrick, like I mentioned, has funding for companies like I think Circle sponsors him. I also believe he's got sponsorship from South Point as well that could jump over with him, and a couple other companies that'd be willing to help him out as well. I think Hemrick would definitely be a good option to go if he's got that experience. He's a good driver and would probably get the best out of equipment. Now, the thing, of course, he's got to win a Cup Series race, which he hasn't done yet, but he does have an Xfinity Series victory and a championship, so that is something that really could help his resume. The 7th driver that I think that could be considered for the 10 car in 2023 is currently driving for Joe Gibbs Racing NASCAR Xfinity Series, Brandon Jones. Now, Brandon Jones, I think, is one of the least likely options to do it because Brandon Jones does have some big ties with Joe Gibbs Racing, with sponsorship from Bream and other companies that are willing to sponsor him. Menards has big backing around him as well. However, Brandon Jones does have a lot of Xfinity Series experience, and I've been very intrigued to see when he's ever going to get up in a Cup because Brandon Jones has been in the Xfinity Series now for nearly 10 years. He's been in the Xfinity Series since 2014 and 2015. This is his 7th or 8th full-time season in a NASCAR Xfinity Series, and I think at some point he's going to have to make that jump up to the Cup Series, or he's going to remain in the Xfinity Series long term. Brandon Jones, like I mentioned, also has a little bit of funding behind him as well, and he's also been improving as a driver in the Xfinity Series as well over the last couple of years. Maybe it does help with the fact that the Xfinity Series is not as strong as it used to be, but I think Brandon Jones has potential to get things done long term. I think he'd be definitely a really good option, a good candidate to make that jump up to the Cup Series, and like I mentioned, he's got funding from Ream, money from Menards, and I guarantee you that they would definitely take that funding as well, especially since Smithfield looks like they're kind of backing off from Stewart-Haas Racing just a little bit. I think he definitely would be a pretty good consideration if he brought the funding and sponsorship, which he clearly brings the funding and sponsorship if he would be considered for the 10 car. The 8th driver that should be considered for the 10 car heading into 2023 is a driver who currently drives the 38 for Furrow Motorsports in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series, Zane Smith. Zane Smith has been having an incredible year in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series this year. Last year, he only won one race, only had 2 top 5s, and I think he only had 3 or 4 top 10s on the rest of like 9 or 10 top 10s on the season. Zane Smith has drastically improved this year at Furrow Motorsports. He's won 3 races so far and has been overall the best driver in the Truck Series this year. And he also does have a Cup start that came earlier this year at Gateway in substitution for Chris Busch, who was out for COVID-19 protocols. And Chris Buescher with Zane Smith ended up bidding a top 28 race. Now, Chris Buescher next week came back, did end up finishing runner-up and nearly won the race. But Zane Smith was really, really impressive. And Zane Smith has ambitions to go Cup racing. And Zane Smith also does have a little bit of Xfinity Series experience as well. I think Zane would actually be a really solid option to go with. I don't think it would be out of the possibility of him potentially getting an opportunity to go into the 10 car. I think he would do pretty solid. He wouldn't do amazing because, again, I don't think he would do amazing. I think he'd probably, unfortunately, get swallowed up throughout the whole entire season. Would it be better than Aric Almirola? But I think Zane Smith should be definitely a good consideration and a potential consideration for the number 10 car if it does come up the possibility. He's a driver I see a lot of people mention, and I think he could be a good opportunity with how good he's been in Xfinity. Even though I know that a lot of people think he's probably got multiple, I think he does potentially have multiple years of Furrow, but he could exit that contract early and go to a team like Stewart-Haas Racing heading into 2023. The 9th driver that should be considered for the 10 car heading into 2023 is currently driving the 34 for Furrow Motorsports, and that is Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell, there's a lot of reasons why I consider. Michael McDowell has been drastically improving in the Cup Series every single year. In fact, this year, currently at the moment, while he has 1 less top 5 than he did last year, he has already scored 7 top 10s this year and has in the last 12 or 13 races, he has been extremely consistent. He has the 8th or 9th most score points in the last 8 or 9 races, and has, like I said, been extremely consistent. His average finish is in the top 11 or 12, which is really, really great to see. Also, he scored a lot more points than a lot of people. On top of that as well, it seems like every year he gets better. Now, I think Blake Harris, who is this crew chief, who used to work at Joe Gibbs Racing, is definitely playing a factor into that. But I also think Michael McDowell did say before the season began this year that he wanted to really show what he's capable of, and he's been doing that. I think if you put him in the 10 car, he will be a playoff contender. I really, really will. And this year, Furrow, he's a playoff contender, but I think he's definitely outperforming the equipment currently at the moment that he's in. I don't think Furrow is as good as Michael McDowell is currently making it right now. And I think with all that experience that Michael McDowell clearly has at the moment right now, I think that's going to really help and play a big factor and to really help him get an opportunity to take over. And one thing that would also potentially help Preece and him potentially getting that right is Aric Almirola's current crew chief, Drew Blickensderfer, who does have a big relationship with Michael McDowell, worked with him in the team for 3 or 4 years. So I think Michael McDowell would definitely be a really awesome and a great opportunity, a great option to go with, and I think he should definitely be considered as a potential candidate for the 10 in 2023. And the final driver, in my opinion, that should be considered for the 10 car 2023 is Michael McDowell's teammate and the driver 38 for Farmer Motorsports, Todd Gillan. Todd Gillan, of course, who is a rookie in the Cup Series currently at the moment, has been a little bit disappointing. And people would like to probably see Todd Gillan get a better opportunity. I think Todd Gillan jumping up the Cup Series as quick as he did really did not help him at all. And Todd Gillan does have a lot of connections as well with a lot of teams as well, including, I believe, also Super Haas Racing as well. Todd Gillan, I think, is a very talented driver. He's got a lot of talent. He's had a lot of success in the Truck Series, but I think not having that Xfinity Series experience really overall did hurt his opportunity to succeed as well as he could have. I think Todd Gillan should absolutely be considered, potentially should be considered, because I think he also does a multi-year deal with Front Row, but I think if they wanted to drop him out, maybe lease him out for a year to the team, it would be a great opportunity for him to really learn and get a lot of experience. I think he'd be a really, really successful driver, and I think he absolutely should be considered as of the last potential candidate to get into the 10 car in 2023. So, anyway, that is here today's special NASCAR video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my page along the description below that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. Who do you think should replace Aric Almirola in 2023? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, we more than likely should have a NASCAR news video, and then Friday we'll probably maybe have another NASCAR news video or another special video. And this weekend, of course, we have 3 races coming up, one in Mid-Ohio for the Truck Series as we get closer to playoffs for that. And then, of course, we have Xfinity and Cup at Atlanta, at the new Atlanta. Really excited for those races. And so anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.